first time. But
Alright, Tyler's saying that they should add a shooting range.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that the robot that Harry just made me see, if they don't intend to use it, but they're up for it, it would be a very good shooting doll, or like a punching bag, but for guns, kind of fella. Because I don't know, yeah, he's built like a bit of a dummy, right? I think they did that.
Yeah, he's like very much so a crash test dummy vibe, especially with the way they treat him.
And if not that, then they can just keep reusing him and like any other like promotional.
Yeah, but imagine a organic creature with those proportions. It's just this weird like fat belly ogre fella running at you.
Fella. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't think about the shooting range thing until now because I've kind of been conditioned not to think about shooting ranges in relation to Deep Rock, in a way. But yeah. Honestly,
it makes sense.
It makes a lot more sense. It makes sense the difference between the two and why you would have it in Rogue Core because.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Let me lay it out. You don't start with weapons in Rogue Core. That's why there's a better reason to have a shooting range. You cannot guarantee the weapons you're going to get. That's it. That's why it's justifiable as something to look into. Unlike with Deep Rock, basically.
And so unless they do the same code fuck up in the hub where you can't actually use weapons, because that was also the problem, right? It's like you would need to have a loading screen to go into the shooting range anyway, so you might as well go into a game. That's the reason why there's no shooting range.
But even with that, it's still
play the game.
Even with that, Rogue Core could justify. Even if you have to do it that way, Rogue Core can still justify it more than Deep Rock.
Yeah, I think technically, but even then, they still might not be worth the effort as far as they're concerned, and especially early on. But yeah, it still would. But maybe, and there are multiple examples of this is what I'm hoping for. They have gone into it planning around that kind of thing, right? So they can add a shooting range or fun arcadey stuff that allows weapons in the rig, which I know doesn't make much sense because they're probably supposed to be more serious, but hey, what's more serious than an arcade game with a gun?
Well, I definitely want to be able to use I definitely want to be able to use the class abilities in the rig, like the Guardian one, the Stonewall thing, like then they just force blast like barrels around,
like
yeah.
Even though aren't barrels confirmed to not be in the
that was confirmed at one point that there weren't any barrels in the ramrod, and that might be the
but that doesn't mean there isn't going to be
because barrels are the ultimate. Well, yeah, I mean, who the fuck doesn't want to use that Stonewall gauntlet on the punching bag, like literally? And just you smashing. Yeah, you force blast it, and then it just goes into a spasm of like a texture glitch. It just flings itself into the ceiling and just spazzes out. Because it can't handle it.
Good old Deep Rock does.
And then you just turn it into a pin cushion, or just slice it in half, even maybe. Just
so that kind of thing. Because that would be maybe, it'd be a nice way of testing out the classes before you go into the mission as well. Maybe like you just press them, use their ability, see how you like it. But I'm not sure. I just think, hey ho, you just made an entirely new model for a joke trailer. Maybe not waste it.
It is technically the only new model. Obviously, there is like production value in that trailer, but that is the only brand new model. And yeah, I mean, I kind of accidentally started gaslighting you because it by saying it was complete nonsense, but no, it was actually made for the trailer. This weird robot fella.
Yeah, I just think that is odd, unless they intend to do more trailers. Not inherently like that, even though I think it would be cool.
I would love it. I want that for sure. I really like these.
But can you imagine, like, every time they add a class, they do a video like this?
Yeah,
right. Or they just like every time they add like a significant thing, this is because, to be honest, people fucking love that type of analog is in. Right. I mean, I think it might be in and on the way out, but hey, it's still in.
Well, yeah, it is, and I really like that kind of thing. I think it reminds me a lot of actually Journey to the Savage Planet, doesn't it? That was rife with those kind of like in-world
kind of
advertisements,
aesthetic.
and I think like Deep Rock's universe, as much as they don't like go into like loads of detail about what the actual universe is like, it's clearly befitting of that kind of advertisement, plastered with like really tacky,
And I think
Starship Trooper style stuff as well. Is what it very much is.
yeah,
Like, do your part and like all that kind of crap.
and they
It's got
did
that
already
vibe.
kind of do that with the wasn't it Dwarf Impressions? That
It was more so like I think that was something else. I think that was the
oh
year
no, it was
after or
trailers,
before.
wasn't it?
It was
It was
trailers, but it was
making
like
a
I think there
trailer
was
for
a
the
more
game.
specific prompt where it was meant to. I think it was meant to be a bit of a call to action, for like an in-universe trailer for joining Deep Rock, for joining the company. That's what
Yeah.
it was. Which is like it was. I did not realize until I watched Starship Troopers. I did not realize how blazonly they wore their inspirations on their sleeves. Same goes for
Like
Halo,
I'm
by
doing
the
my
way.
part. Like that was seem yeah.
Holy shit! I did not realize how much Halo just aped from Starship Troopers. It's actually kind of ridiculous. It's actually... And then Helldivers, it's just a Starship Troopers game. It's just
Yeah.
straight up.
Makes the question if Starship Troopers even started it, because I mean it's not that old. I would think that
It's
the origin
98.
of
So
this entire like subgenre of sci-fi.
I don't know
what
what
you
you would
call it, like
call it.
militia, corporate militia, like I don't know.
Corp Punk. What's the acronym of that?
Okay.
Anyway, I guess we are talking about
yeah.
classes first, which is fine. I think we should talk about the classes because we do have some kind of. I mean, obviously we have the trailer coming up. This is going to be a mixed match of talking about that below deck stuff and the upcoming trailer, because I can imagine the trailer having a bit of a like class introduction, like real kind of thing. Maybe it depends how long it is.
It's definitely something they've got done right. Like that seems to be something they'll be able to show off.
I mean, there's something I want to talk about in terms of like from the newsletter, in terms of behind the scenes of the trailer, which is why I don't really know how to do this without jumping around that much. So yeah, let's actually start with the classes. I want to talk about the classes like as in one by one, because as far as we know, and there's no wording for this. It's just kind of based on things that we know. Like for example, like the Gorgon, which was for a while we knew they were working on 5 classes, and when the Gorgon gets put on the back burner, goes back into prototyping, that was clearly the 5th one, if you know what I mean. Whereas the other ones are like the first 4, and there are a couple other prototype ones I want to bring up when it comes to getting more than 4 classes. But I think when you look at like this footage and then what they talk about in the below decks, where it does give like a little description for like these 4 classes, I think the plan is, even though they haven't put it in writing, I think the plan's pretty clear that they're going to go for like a set of 4 for the launch, early access launch. Let's focus on these 4.
Early access, sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, me and a couple people are pretty confident it's going to go up to, for 1.0, it's going to go up to either 6 or 8. Pretty confident in that.
1.0, ideally more. Right, like
it depends on how thorough they feel though when we get the games. Like, do we actually need?
I guess
do we need dozens?
Upgrades, sure, but like think about it this way: the gauntlets are basically just a utility tool, right?
They are the utility tool, yes, or the support tool, what they call it, I think.
It's kind of like what if each Deep Rock class was just based on a utility tool, and it's like you would expect them to make quite a few of them. The only thing is, I feel like there is the upgrades to that tool in Roll Call should be a lot deeper than in Deep Rock.
Definitely a lot more transformative.
It was already not that deep anyway. But like this should be akin to a weapon, if not more.
I think there'll be more. I think they're more than weapons, as far as we know. Because there are there are points where you get specific Actually, I can't remember all the different like ways that you get upgrades. It feels like there are times you get upgrades for you. Then sometimes it's an upgrade for the weapon. Like sometimes it's for the class.
Yeah, rewards for like completing objectives, like side quests. Like a curse site, for example, like stuff like that. Then there was like filling up. I actually know the name of the little robot.
I think you do.
I don't. I've completely forgotten it.
That's an E.
But Yeah, it's gone.
We knew one. We kind of knew one of them. A guy called this.
Elijah.
Oh shit! No, Ellis. I
didn't know
I think
Ellis. Who the fuck is Ellis?
It wasn't Ellis. I kind of knew that I didn't, not on purpose, but I kind of knew I was leading you towards Elijah, but like not maliciously. Not malicious.
Elijah's a good name. I want an Elijah robot.
That's what that guy can be called. The big guy, dummy. I mean, I'm sure they're naming him in the comments of that video. Like,
oh yeah.
All you need to do is like
that's like the one thing that the Deep community does. They say rock and stone and they name robots.
Yeah,
that's like their
I'm
two
pretty
things.
sure there's something that got named. I can't remember what it was, but it was something recently. I don't know what it was though. It might have been a crawler, and they called it Rodney or something. I don't know. But that robot is literally like a hair's like length away from being it almost looks like a DRG robot anyway. It's probably just a bit too rotund.
It looks like,
but it could easily be like a DRG like loader. Like it just carries stuff around.
It looks like a dwarf. Like
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It is built like Mark 1 driller, right?
But with like lankier arms, I guess. Maybe longer arms.
Yeah. Like the carapace is very much like
Ooh, good work.
I think it's Mark 1 driller that is like I don't know, like a round top and then like a round belly. There's something else that looks like that.
I think both Mark 1 and Mark 2 are both a bit like that, to be honest. Driller.
Well, they are normally similar. But yeah, definitely gonna get a name. I hope. Yeah, Elijah, top bet. But yeah, no, Ellis is that robot, and I don't remember what you upgrade, but that is a source of upgrading once you fill it with Expedite. But I think that is the class mods or other mods, because I think weapon upgrading is its own thing. Like I think if I remember correctly, you have to find like a care package or like some weird thing like that.
There's definitely something like that, but it might be even more. There seems to be a lot of ways of upgrading, which hopefully translates to quite. What that sounds like though is that they have quite a lot of different upgrade pools to work with, which is like a dangerous game because you don't want to have loads of different upgrade pools, but none of them have the depth that you want, because. There's some stuff that is just for your dwarf class, like classless. So it's just like reload speed and health and stuff. Weapon ones and then definitely class ones. And I think there's even some other stuff which are artifacts. So like we've got to be careful there. But I don't know. I think they've probably got it on lock. I mean that's okay. To be fair, that's the stuff that we have no real inkling of. Is what sort of end game upgrades look like though. So it's not really something we should really talk about too much. But I am interested in how transformed our equipment can be, especially these things, the class abilities.
Really
like, can the sword go from the sword to something else, for example? Are we going to get that kind of thing, or is it going to be
the weapon stuff? Only look like number changes, if you get what I mean.
Well, I think we know the weapon stuff will go up to overclocks.
Shoots a different type of shot.
No, overclocks aren't in the game, but we know that the plan is for him to go up to that kind of level. Like, I think Mike, when he was did the Q&A stream recently, he literally said like, Fat Boy PGL. That's an example of like a legendary PGL. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of thing. I don't think that was like meant to be completely literal, but it's just like, relatively speaking, that's kind of what you can think of. No, obviously Fat Boy's Fat Boy's obviously gonna be in the game. Yeah. Right? I'm not stupid.
Fan favorites that they're not like Special Powder is bound to be in the game.
Yeah, Fat Boy, Hyperpop, bunch of other crap. Fucking what's that?
I didn't think that was that popular. Not in like a community kind of way. Like sure, like pick wise, but I mean like something that honestly comes outside of meta in how popular it is.
Yeah. Big Bertha, although that'll be more so just through upgrades, I guess. But then it's like I don't know if the PGL it's like a legendary upgrade that just makes it right, because that's what I want in Deep Rock. I just want an upgrade that makes it radioactive. I don't need Fat Boy. I'm still on that train where it's remove the fallout from Fat Boy and make it an upgrade.
Other than elemental weapons, which obviously the weapons have their own like types. Other than elemental weapons, I'm sure you'll be able to put every element on a weapon. That is like that'll be a tier. Like, there's no way they would just waste that kind of easy.
I can see them doing an upgrade that could potentially be a and every weapon one, like a legendary one, it's like it just rolls random elements every few seconds. I can see them doing that. They're kind of unhinged enough, potentially. Although
Well, I
it's not the
wasn't
kind of
referring
thing
to
I would
that,
use
but
though.
I was just more saying that you would get like a minigun, and the blue would be it does fire damage. Or again, you get a different minigun, and the blue tier upgrade is like it does radioactive damage. Like, it's just like in RoboQuest, where you can have fire, electricity, or ice. Like it's just kind of you can have any weapon do an elemental type, like any elemental type. Like it's just part of the pool.
RoboQuest goes kind of nuts though, because sometimes you get a class upgrade that is like all your weapons deal this element now, and so you can get
Yeah,
another
you can
element on
do
the
like
weapon
all three
itself.
elements at the same time, fucking time, right?
You
Like,
can. Well, there's plenty of ways to do it, like because there are items, for example, where freezing an enemy also sets them on fire. That would be a bit ridiculous in a Deep Rock game, because of temperature shock. Because like
yeah.
that would mean if although that would be a really cool like high tier cryo cannon upgrade, to be honest, where it's like as soon as it freezes something, it actually just does that, which is a bit, I don't know about that, because obviously, but from what we know, I don't know if they want things to be as combo heavy, meaning like just because you get a cryo cannon does not mean that you need a wave cooker necessarily. I don't think they're going down that
They would
route.
have a lot harder time making combos, right?
Exactly.
With the cryo cannon, it's like sure we just make the secondary, temperature shock easily, but you can't do that in a roguelike because there's no guarantee when they have the cryo that they'll have anything that has any kind of combination with it. They still might, and so you're encouraged if you get the cryo cannon, you're encouraged to grab the wave hooker, right? Like if you find it, but ideally, I don't know, it might be mod based, or the cryo just does it itself. Like if it's legendary or high enough tier,
Yeah, I
where
mean,
like yeah, as soon
I
as it
know I want
freezes,
the
they pop.
exact thing that's in RoboQuest, which is the popcorn bucket item, which makes it just means that when you mark anything, it just sets them on fire. I just want that for for the spotter class. So
I
let's
mean,
talk
it
about
sounded
those
like
guys. Hmm?
yeah, well, yeah, on spotter, it looks like it's 3 shots at a time, and when you track them, you'll do more damage to them, right? That seems to be the
It is the way that it's a repeater is kind of cool, but we can actually kind of go through them. So we have Guardian, Spotter, Falconeer, and Slicer. Obviously, Falconeer and Slicer were the ones that we knew about at first because they showed them off. But then I think Guardian and Spotter had also been mentioned a couple of times. I think Guardian and Spotter were in the video actually, like in the dev like menu thing.
yeah.
It's like then they could have switched to them if they wanted to, but they probably weren't as finished as the other two were. As on face value, which one of those sounds the most appealing, just by name?
But you know damn well there's Guardian.
I know it's going to be Guardian for you. I've got a pretty strong sense that when it comes to these four, assuming that these are the ones we start with, you're going to. I got the feeling you're going to gravitate towards Guardian. Was that more like more affirmed in the footage even? Actually, because it's not a purely
Well,
defensive, is it? It's not just
kind of.
shields.
It wasn't even that. It was when you before or when you came out of it. It looks like because I mentioned it's not just the upgrades relate to the class itself. If I had to guess, like all the upgrades you get as your dwarf, it is not specifically modifying that ability. Maybe you're more likely, or like some of those mods increase your stats in the area that makes sense, if you get what I mean. So like if you're a guardian, you're more likely to get health based upgrades or like tankier based upgrades. Maybe
Actually,
or
that
not
might.
like
I don't think that's off
not like
base. The thing is, I
generally
would need
just
to. Someone said something on Discord. One of the devs said something. It's hard to find because I don't use the same Discord after I got to look at Deep Rock because after I got kicked. So I don't know if I can get onto it easily on browser because there was something that someone said that I think actually was yeah. I just want to open Discord on my browser, please. But yeah, I don't think you're actually completely off base. All right. Oh, here we are. Let's see how quick. Actually, I might be able to find this quite quickly. Rocore chat.
that like because I think the general upgrades are going to be in the general pool. So I'm not sure about it being like that, but maybe health related upgrades are more effective on you if you're using a guardian, or there are, options. If you don't actually feel like upgrading your equipment specifically, there are more general options. And if you're the Guardian, it'll be increased health or shield. If you're like the Slasher, I would assume increased melee damage or just damage. If you're like a damage dealer,
use melee damage. I mean, that's a yep.
But like, if you don't want to spec into that thing inherently, see ya.
Well, the spotter
can...
could basically use a mark effect that could be elsewhere in the game, meaning that you could just get upgrades that are like you deal even more damage to like spotted enemies, and that's not specific to the spotter. It just happens the spotter is just a really efficient way of marking enemies.
Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway, I just found something that someone said. I don't know what this guy's role is actually, but his name's Cash Mahal. It said, just to deflate Robotgate a bit, the robot is actually a model I made 5 years ago for a portfolio piece. I needed some goofy character in there for the video, just looked through my old junk pile. But who knows? Maybe he could get a job as a janitor on the spaceship at some point. So there's that about the robot.
Nice.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're undervaluing the value of that video. Like, sure, it was funny, but it was also very high quality and kind of fun, like lore building kind of thing.
Like potentially,
so maybe
I guess.
Yeah, maybe keep it up, like, if you can. If you got nothing else to do, like.
Okay, I think I found the information I wanted. So I guess we can actually. Here we go. This is one of the guys. His name on Discord is The Devil Knows Why. Great. In Rogue Core, Rogue Core classes are very different from DRG classes. One thing we're trying to do with Rogue Core is make it easier for us to make more classes. There you go. I mean, we knew that. In DRG, a class consists of primary and secondary weapons with upgrade trees and overclocks, traversal tool, class tool, grenades. In Rogue Core, a class is a gauntlet ability, which is mainly the stuff we just saw, 2 decks of personal upgrades, we call those bio boosters right now, and then a class perk or 2. I think that last bit's a little bit up in the air. But that second bullet point, 2 decks of personal upgrades. I don't know what he means by decks. I don't know if that's like stuff to choose from, or you get 2 at a time. I don't actually
know. They are probably class-specific upgrades that you can pick from eventually during the playthrough, or maybe at the beginning, right? Like, the decks is a bit odd. So maybe there is like pools of certain types of upgrades.
Yeah, okay.
That, like,
well, there's actually something here that helps that. For example, one of Slicer's decks has melee focused boosts.
Yeah.
But it's still very usable by another class with stuff like the pickaxe and the drill. Oh, because he also said something about how they're playing with the idea maybe after at a certain level. This is more like meta progression, but at a certain level you can actually use the decks on other classes.
Right, so you could get a Guardian with like range damage.
Yeah,
which is unlikely the Guardian will.
But for now, it's more like the Slicer actually has a melee bias outside of just the ability, almost.
Yeah,
or can
which
do.
was exactly what I was kind of heading towards.
Yeah, which is like it's weird because I do want to know how far that goes, because when I look at like something like the Slicer, I would be tempted to actually spec into long range weapons when it comes to my weapons, because I've got like a fucking close range obliteration tool. But that's also just one of the decks, I suppose. But then also that deck sounds tempting. It's like, again, all you do, you spec hard into melee, you just take drills and your pickaxe, and you just become this fucking melee like nightmare.
Yeah, but you probably end up like, quite like fragile. You know what I mean? Like you'll be like this glass melee cannon.
Well, that's why you would jack up your movement speed as well, though. For that, like you got to be like a fucking.
You probably
little lightning. Bug.
Because that two thing is that honestly, it's not even funny how perfectly that kind of fits into what I was kind of hoping for. Like, because it sounds like those pulls are going to be you specific, right? Probably not game specific. Like, because depending on how it would work, it like wouldn't matter. If you know what I mean? Like, if these decks were just in the general pool of upgrades, then It's just a mixed bunch of everyone's decks in the main pool. But this is probably referring to that specific, I think, Ellis upgrades where it's just your upgrades, right? Which I think is a thing where you pick from. Like I know the weapon one. Actually, no, the weapon one. Yeah, the weapon one was your specific.
I don't.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, I think the only thing I can say for sure is that when it comes to getting class upgrades, that's obviously not shared. I know that for sure. But I think you might be right that it might be the stuff where it's shared and you kind of have to fight over upgrades is just like general
where you would upgrade
upgrades.
your class equipment. There's no way that would make sense if everyone else was involved, right?
No. I think that's I think that's definitely true. That stuff is you.
I think it would be there where there's probably like I don't know, let's say slicer. There is your slicer does double damage but halves its width. That's like the first upgrade, and then there's like the opposite where it's like double as wide but does half the damage, and then it would have like your overall melee damage is increased by like 15%, or your movement speed is increased by like 30%, or some shit like that, right? And you pick one of those. Like that's the kind of thing, because the movement is from the movement deck, attack, the melee damage is from the melee damage deck.
I know what I want, because the original first-person shooter grappling hook, most people don't know this, the original first-person shooter grappling hook is actually the energy sword from Halo 2. Because how the energy sword works in Halo is as long as you have like the red reticle, like whereas that means like there's an enemy that you can hit, you lunge towards them with the energy sword. But in Halo 2, there isn't really a limit on the range at which the reticle turns red, which means you can lunge at someone with the energy sword from across a map. Basically, I want something like that for the slicer. Not from the start, but it's like just a lunge type thing. I don't know if it would be like you like lunge. Sort of tag someone first, yeah, or just like maybe I don't know how the abilities are going to work in terms of like activating them. Maybe but like they are definitely
an enemy you shoot with a certain effect, or just generally you shoot. You can then like if you use your attack, you will like appear at them or dash towards them, or some form
shadow
like that.
Dash or something. Like you just appear behind them. I don't know. That sounds more like maybe the backtracker or something. Although we'll talk about those guys in a little bit. But I mean, we are kind of talking, I guess, technically about the Below Decks post, because I really liked how it talked about them, because well, these are class abilities. They are also kind of your primary weapon at the same time, because they talk about in terms of visual design, it's the thing that you see most often and all the time as well. It's the thing that never changes, no matter what weapon like you're using or whatever. Your weapons can change, your things can change, but you're always going to see that go on it. So it really needs to represent you and always feel satisfying to use as well. Which you can see that the kind of like the animations that they got for how like the dwarves interact with them is very like Doom Guy and Master Chief feeling in terms of like
it looks sick as fuck.
Just sort of punching like their fists like and just clacking bits together and I think there's something so inherently cool. Like this is why I'm actually gravitating towards the spotter. I think there's something so inherently cool about reloading something that's mounted on your wrist. I don't know why. It's like flipping something open and then like clacking bits together.
Real ones, no, but a bit berserk vibe. A little bit of the reloading arm, fucking crossbow. Go hard, I guess.
Who knows? Vibe. Who knows what inspirations they drew on?
But
that's why I am very satisfied with these four already. Like in terms of concepts, I'm very keen on all of them. To be honest, actually, I'm going to be honest with you.
I mean, I think if then it doesn't sound like an if. It sounds like they are doing this. That even outside of the abilities themselves, they will lean you towards the archetypes that they represent. Which will go for even more of the other ones, which is I think is going to be exciting, right?
Oh yeah, but I know that the spotter is absolutely going to have like a mega like headhunter, like ultra crit build. I imagine. I mean, we know stuff about double crits, for example. Like, I remember them talking about how if you have over 100% crit chance, that becomes a chance to double crit damage, basically. And like
is always good.
You just take the spotter to this ridiculous place, like. Just one shot in bosses.
I love this kind of thing because obviously then the spotter, one of its like this, call them decks because they call them that. One of its decks is gonna be general crit damage and chance, right?
Yeah.
You can then apply that in combination, because I would then also assume the other one is probably going to be range damage, right? Like guns or ballistic, if they want to get really specific, like ballistic damage and crit damage.
I mean, it might
You
also
could
be
then
other
take that
like
crit
it might
deck,
be like other effects that like slow down like hunter type
maybe,
effects.
maybe. But I feel like they wouldn't want to be too specific. But by the sounds of it, they're not, right? The example they gave was like melee damage, right, for Slicer. Like
Yeah.
it sounds like they're going to be kind of vague, but you can then take these decks, combine them with other ones, and get like instant ideas, right? Like take like it's unlikely that the spotter is going to use melee damage, so that probably won't be a deck. But crit damage and a melee deck, put them together, you've got like a assassin kind of thing, right?
Oh yeah,
like
sure.
instantly,
Yeah.
just like you would, and then you can think of the ability after and stuff like that. Like with all these decks, you have so many like combinations that instantly appear, which you can then just piece together what makes the most sense, what would be the most fun, and it becomes easy from there.
Yeah,
And
I
then
guess we
hopefully
could
they add a couple more decks from there.
There could honestly, if that is how these decks work, there could be like that could absolutely be a update thing. Like we might not just get more classes, we might get more decks for the pre-existing ones. I mean, that obviously will depend on how that will depend on how much depth they have at launch. You know, there's a chance we might not feel that's even necessary, which would be awesome, but it might still be cool to get more. I mean, we could quickly throw out. We give like an example for the spotter and the slicer. I guess Guardian is just going to be like the really defensive deck of upgrades, like, right?
If health and shield are separate ones, that. But if they're just like, if defense is one, then that's one deck. And then if I had to guess, maybe melee damage is the other one. Like, I mean, his attacks were still generally close range.
Because like the guy on the Discord, he was saying something. I couldn't tell if he was really talking about the bubble ability or the force blast. I think he was actually talking about the bubble. That is also kind of like a blast. Like one of them is more of an attack, one of them is more of a defensive move, but it still sort of pushes stuff away. Which is why it is the Guardian in this is literally just like the aggressive version of the Guardian from RoboQuest, where it's just like it's not a constant shield, it's more like just a fucking pulse, and then you can also just force
air parry.
Yeah, and I guess the Falconeer, that's actually harder to pinpoint, because obviously I guess the Falconeer is kind of like the engineer though, obviously, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it would go towards like engineer style stuff where they can like. It depends on if things like the sentries are there though, where it's like, oh, does it make because this is a big thing in Survivor, because they got loads of like sentries, basically. They got loads of different sentries and also things and drone weapons. And even then, I think the shredder grenades are counted. They have this like category called constructs, which is basically engineer gets a bonus to like construct weapons. It's anything that is like that. But I don't know. So obviously the Falconeer doesn't inherently feel like engineer, and I don't think this is necessarily a real thing, but I think you can map these four to the Deep Rock ones in a way, as the Reclaimer version of. I don't think I'm not being too literal here, but there's still a closest comparison. Because obviously,
kind of,
but obviously they take quite different parts of the classes, you know. Because obviously Guardian is gunner, but not the gunner aspect, if you know what I mean. Like.
Just the shield.
Spotter is scout though. That's why I was talking about like the effects, because scout's got a lot of different status effects.
Yeah, spotter, scout, Falconeer, engineer,
and the slicer is the closest is driller. But obviously, the main thing about that is there's a melee focus, I guess. But also, I thought about it. Something else. We know that the blade does slice through terrain, for example, so it could be a bit of a terrain clearer, like driller is. So there is that. Which
I mean,
is nice.
If depending on how interesting the decks could be, that could be a actual deck, like terrain destruction, like which would obviously then be
finally get that breach cutter upgrade that reverse it back to what it's meant to be. It actually does carve through terrain. I mean, I don't know if that's the kind of thing you'd necessarily want to build for. Although I just remember them talking about like the headlight thing. Obviously, that feels like a bit more of a joke than pickaxes does, but I can see headlamp being in
terrain
manipulation
as like a build. Like how you can easily create a prime arena.
What I'm saying, I can see the spotter having a light themed deck where it's like
Maybe.
you would want the flare gun, for example, because it like spots things in light, it marks them, things like that. Maybe. It's only because they
Yeah.
mentioned they literally mentioned the spotlight, like your headlamp potentially having upgrades, but it's like that's the kind of thing that no, when they talk about such specific upgrades like that, that makes the deck idea make more sense, because I don't.
No, dude. In my brain, no, I'm not. I'm not even disagreeing with you. I'm getting hyped. I'm just thinking about all
Yeah,
the fucking
careful.
possibilities with it.
Yeah,
Like,
we need to
my mind's
obviously
spiraling.
we need to hold, because obviously we are actually going to see some shit next week. I wouldn't say like in this vein specifically. I'm not, because we're going to have to talk about the trailer.
Maybe.
Well, it doesn't. Yeah, we really don't know. I would say a lot of that depends on length. If it's like more like a 2 minute standard
Wait,
length
isn't
trailer.
this is the Triple I initiative, right? Isn't this?
Yeah. So it's
Yeah. So it's just going to be, and it's not even just Deep Rock, is it, or is it like a bunch?
it's a bunch of stuff. It's Triple I
Yeah.
initiative. It's a full showcase. I guess we can move on to that topic though, because I want to talk about the Triple I anyway. Because I think it's such a cool thing. Obviously it started. I think it did start last year. I'm pretty sure. And
Alright, so
we
it's been,
first
like, annual.
we first heard about. Oh yeah, it's definitely been an annual thing. It's like the E3 stand-in for indie. Because you know how
Yeah.
like, but that's the thing. You have like Xbox and Nintendo and PlayStation. They all have like their own thing now, but that's like their thing. The thing that's going to be the biggest news from all of those is going to be the exclusives. You know, indie games aren't
Yeah, like Silk Soul.
that's weird though, because that's the kind of thing I would expect from the Triple I, to be honest. But Triple I though, it's not exclusives. It's just indie games and the kind of things that might get overlooked at these kind of big events. But people do really like indie games at the same time, so it's like it makes perfect sense that they're going to band together and be like, here's indie E3, you know.
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely not. It's nowhere near the same kind of tier though. Not even like game quality, just like hype. People talking about, kind of interest in, like you don't hear the internet talking about the Triple I reveals,
no.
right?
I mean
Like
that it could grow, and things do, and I hope it does.
but it's
But
not going to grow without them trying a bit, and they haven't really advertised much since last year, right? Like it's not like put itself out there really, has it?
no, that's kind of true. But well, yeah, because I mean, I first heard about it through Ghost Ship. I was about to say through Deep Rock, but I should say through Ghost Ship, because they did show some stuff. I think that's when the first Dynauds trailer was shown. I think, and maybe
Yeah.
Survive was in there too. But the point is, and I wasn't necessarily surprised about this for Deep Rock itself, although I think they could have put a season 5 trailer in there, really. But there wasn't anything for Deep Rock or Rogue Core, and that felt that's technically fine because it's not like it's their showcase or anything. At the same time, that's what we're looking out for. And while I do really like the On the Horizon stuff, it's it's very self. You could call it a bit of a vacuum, I guess. Where Triple I, this is them sharing the stage with so many other people, but they're finally going to be putting their actual next game like on the line. And
Yeah.
I find that exciting. This is the yeah, technically there has been a Rogue Core trailer, but that was pre-alpha footage, and it's like this is the Rogue Core pre-alpha teaser. What we're getting next week is like the Rogue Core like official trailer. It's going to be the thing they're really showing it off on the basically the biggest stage.
On Steam until it comes out.
Yeah, they're going to be showing it off on like the biggest stage that they can, and I think that's important because this will be kind of because this obviously this is the kind of trailer, unlike the previous one. This is the kind of trailer that's going to get like posted by outlets, right? Like IGN, they will post this trailer.
Yeah.
So this is going to be kind of a gauge as well for Rogue Core hype and a Kickstarter for it, but also it's going to gauge response in terms of like actual comments and number. I didn't. What?
A Kickstarter for Rogue Core?
No, it's not what I meant. I meant a Kickstarter. I mean, it's going to kickstart the hype like season, like by actually dropping an official trailer.
I suppose.
But it's going to like, you know, looking through comments and just views, it's going to actually gauge the actual interest. Like, how much buzz does that segment get on? Like, literally, there's like a teaser for the upcoming III like broadcast, and it's like the Rogue Core like snippet was literally like 2 seconds long, in that teaser, and you still have the comments just filled with rocks and stones. That's a weird way to say it, or rock and stones, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like, how much buzz does that segment get? Like when the trailer starts during that live stream, how much does the chat like light up with like rock and stones, for example? It's like, this is their chance to really show up and show us what's going on, and that this is something really worth getting excited about. It's like, it's finally time for them to prove why they chose to do this, you know, to everyone, like to the people who don't even know about it as well. Or maybe people who have been playing Deep Rock and don't know why it hasn't got any updates in a while at all. Some people are like that. They don't really know what's going on.
Quite a few people are.
Yeah. So there's definitely, well, I think there's a bit of pressure on it, to be honest. if you don't mind me saying. If you don't.
There's no pressure on it. Yeah. Like, if it fails, I'm not sure if they'll be all right.
Be all right.
Well, I doubt, Deep Rock's making as much money as it used to now. So if their new game flunks, that probably will put them in a bad place. I would imagine.
Well, I mean, that's another that's the kind of conversation that I don't even want to have if we need to have it, though. Like that really horrible future of it like failing. It's like, I don't know if you'll hear from us if that happens, to be honest. We might just retreat. To be honest,
because I don't think it will fail. Like, it would have to be bad for it to fail. That's the situation it's in, right? It would have to be inherently unfun or completely undermarketed and not talked about, and like stuff like that, which is just, the second one is unlikely, because obviously Deep Rock is a known game, right? Quite a few big YouTubers have played Deep Rock, and they will pay attention if there is a new game in it. The only problem is roguelikes are not appealing as far as games are concerned, right? Like story-driven shit, YouTubers love that. But roguelikes, it's difficult to make content out of, like series out of, if you get what I mean.
So you're talking about like that industry being important to this industry, like the Let's Play industry, kind of.
Yeah, it is important.
It is. Zack Scott Games.
It already was kind of a weakness of Deep Rock, right? Most big people that did play it, they only made like 1, 2, maybe 3 episodes on it, right? And then they stopped playing it. They were like, yeah, this is cool. And if they continue playing it, they continue playing it privately, because it's just not something that warrants a series.
I'm pretty confident this is going to be more Let's Play friendly than Deep Rock. There will definitely be a sort of sequential nature to it, of working through.
I do think the co-op,
first of all, trying to beat the runs
is
for the first time, but also the fact of working through the multiple runs that they have and how it's going to like kind of build.
Yeah, I guess there is a bonus layer. Like, for as much damage as maybe a roguelike does, a heavily co-op roguelike probably pulls it back. So like, all the videos would be just them having fun with their friends, which is always a good way of making people want to play something. Like, fucking Lethal Company and so on and so forth. Like, those kind of bursts. Because actually, yeah, Lethal Company blew up. That was a roguelike.
Is it actually? I had no idea what genre that game was at all. Like, no concept. Is it actually a roguelike? Or roguelike?
Yeah, I think it very much falls under that.
You don't sound that sure now.
Oh, you go into the planet. I think the outside isn't procedural, but once you enter the building on the planet, I'm pretty sure it is. And with all the, wide variety of shits, and then you earn money, and then you leave. And then eventually you'll probably die. I'm pretty sure you always end up dying. One way or another.
Well, that's definitely not. I don't know. I said that's definitely not rogue core. You might die a lot. I hope I will. I want to die a lot. I do not want to get the first run done quickly. I'll tell you that much. I do not want to get.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sabotage myself either. And I actually, you know what? I am interested to see. Obviously, there's also the aspect of how we'll be playing anyway. It's like, I mean, obviously, I'd like to use a controller. I'm sure that'd make it a lot easier for me. But like, how much do I just snap into this as if it's deep rock? Is that actually going to be a hindrance as well? If I just sort of like my brain just treats it like deep rock, well, that may be worse
like there
or
isn't
better.
clambering or something.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I think the base movement will probably be almost exactly the same.
Sure, but like that kind of thing though, like a mechanic that you come to expect in deep rock, but if that is absent or changed, how much and how long it would take for you to get used to it, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be though. That would be that I could realistically see them changing. Bosco.
I guess, but only because you're solo player.
Even though technically Bosco is in the game, they just know that he's not going to be Bosco when it comes out. It's just going to be something else, which is kind of weird. I guess it's just going to be the Reclaimer version of Bosco, but it's going to be called something else.
It's Ellis, right?
Different. Well, because Ellis, yeah, but Ellis
Ellis was going to do more than Molly.
They did, but Ellis is not a solo thing. There is when you play solo, there is a Bosco currently, but it's just not. It's going to be something else. It's a placeholder. Ellis is the mule, but also like, you know, more than yeah, like you said, more than that. But love Ellis. I also love that weird machine that opens the wall, I guess. Which is just cool.
It's like the you know that rough episode of Doctor Who.
Okay, hold on.
Danny
I've got
Pink.
stop. I could have got you there. Yeah, the one in the school.
Yeah,
it does look a little bit like that thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's kind of a very heavy bottom, or like the things from Fallout, like the ones that huge fucking things that explode when you kill them.
I mean, forgive me, but it kind of looks like the anti-air gun from Halo 2, I think. Actually,
Point is, a heavy bottom robot is not uncommon in sci-fi, and now Deep Rock has one. Good job, Deep Rock. Also, I wonder what her name's going to be, because it's just.
Well, I don't know, because I don't know if it moves or not. I mean, it might do, but it doesn't necessarily need to. I think it's something that you have to just deploy in the first stage of every run to open up the wall. But I'm sure it will get a name. Wallace.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's a woman. Come on.
Okay.
Elizabeth
Wallace.
I mean, with how thick though the bottom half is, maybe Emma Frost might.
It's got
currently relevant.
It's got 5 jiggle physics. It's got 5.
Yeah, she's got every jiggle physics, mate. I mean, like a fucking. I think it's when she wins the MVP thing. Literally, it's absurd.
Oh,
the point is,
they should put her in roll call.
Yeah, just
the dwarves could have posters of her. Just like remember what you're fighting for.
They should do that. But,
like a locket. It's just got a picture of her thighs in it.
The dude, I was watching a streamer like play early access last night, and there was a dude who kept like super chatting called Emma Frost thighs, and the picture was of Emma Frost thighs, and they were like flirting, and it was like, whoa, okay, all right, bud.
Oh damn it! I came across someone last night. I'd forgotten their name though, but it was a really funny name. Oh no, it was Big Perky Naturals.
Oh my god! Where? When do you come across that? You don't even play
in Marvel Rivals, Tyler, because I was making sure that my internet was working.
Right.
More on that later, but not in the podcast.
Yeah. So, more of the story. We hope big natural the word you said.
Big natural perks.
And Emma Frost thighs play with us in the a co-op experience that is roll call.
Anyway, that robot is kind of cool because it seems to like produce like a weird fucking black hole, and then it like I guess it like sends out like a pulse, and then the wall opens. The point is about that. Not I don't really care about the mechanics too much yet, but they've kind of used it as a pivot or like focal point for like the art design. I guess particularly of like the new tech, because that is that's the kind of thing that reads as this is specifically Reclaimer technology as opposed to just Deep Rock technology. Because they talked about how the game's still going to look like Deep Rock, but there's going to be a different approach to all of the new assets. There'll be a bit more angular. I think they use that's definitely a term. More edges and potentially more curvaceous. Then because there's more edges involved. Technically speaking,
and it's you can either perceive it as you're even further in the future with how advanced that tech looks compared to the stuff in the rig, or
there's also the obvious
where the budget goes.
Yeah, that's the more obvious thing that I think is just you can say retroactively that is just implied by just about everything in Deep Rock, like. It's never technically. I wouldn't say it's ever implied by any line in Deep Rock that the money's being saved for something else necessarily, but you can take it that way now. That it's being
ironically all this like blocky, janky stuff is them cutting corners, but then this now smooth-edged, sharp tech is them not cutting corners. I think I said that wrong. I had it smarter in my head.
I don't know. The point is the Reclaimers aren't roughnecks. They are very well-funded tactical military operators. And that's I like the idea that Deep Rock as a company, even though they are a mining company, it's their rarely used like security force is where most of the budget goes.
Deep Rock. Hoxie's is clearly Deep Rock Galactic's main source of income, and that main source of income just blew out their entire like interior operation just as they were investing more into it, and just as they found this new, even more valuable mineral. They're gonna invest. they're gonna be putting their fucking money where their mouth is. If anything, because of sunk cost fallacy, right? Because they probably put a lot of money in investing in all of the stuff down there already that is now inoperable. Like, they're gonna make a couple sharp, cool looking robots.
Well, yeah, I mean, even just with like the Reclaimer
stuff like that,
none of that looks like taped together, or like that stuff looks very high tech. Like the supernova sword. It's like this is superheated exponite held in like an energy field to like sustain itself. Like, huh?
The closest to that is the fucking like plasma cutter, and that shit's just a pickaxe reverse engineered. Like it's just some mining equipment that they just kind of like, fuck it, we just like get rid of this part. It will kill stuff good.
Yeah, like the supernova, like the sword. I mean, I apparently those names though, the names for the equipment is actually technically placeholders. But I disagree. I just don't see them coming up with anything better. I mean, the spotter is already called the spotter class. His gauntlet is called the spotter. But like for the Guardian, I like the Stonewall name. The Falconeer, it's called a Buzzard, which is actually really good because it's like a and the Slicer gets a supernova sword. But that like almost feels like very direct. That feels like very direct rifle tech stuff. Where it's like if you're suspending stuff in like an energy field, like seemingly just floating. I don't know if there's a better option to go with than a bit of rival tech there.
That was one of the best things, was them like proving that they like stole rival tech equipment basically, right? And I feel like you could, if you carry that onwards to roll call, that'd be really cool.
The Buzzard looks a little bit like that feels almost like a bit of an evolution of the Shredder drones. It's like R&D took like basically the AI of one, I guess maybe like the base computer, and then built the Buzzard around it potentially.
Doesn't the Buzzard like shoot electricity? Or am I making that up?
No, it does. I think that's something that's just missing from the trailer because it's like I think in the context of that trailer, when the Buzzard left the gauntlet, it became like manually animated and it wasn't doing its in-game thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like for where the Stonewall, I think that force blast was real, but like what happened to the robot was completely manually done. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But no, the buzzer definitely it shoots like electric like blasts basically. But I think it might also have like a melee. I would love it to also just like just stab shit. Like
yeah, like if you, because I remember it like it does what you tell it to, right? Like, hey, shoot this fucker, and then it shoots that fucker. So maybe
that
there
just
is a
flashbanged me with like
button.
still my favorite thing that we've seen from Vocal, which is just because it's from the same like footage showcase. So just the giant I I can't even remember what its name like full name is, but the big like Rafcan thing. It's just this giant
Yeah.
like space whale oppressor that just plows through terrain. It's like gimme. And I want to see more of those guys in the trailer because I wanted to bring up one thing that that Aaron wrote about the trailer in the newsletter. It's one paragraph. I'll read the whole paragraph. First, all the programmers and artists had to make sure the game looked good because we've been using a ton of placeholders and unfinished visual assets up until now. It was a bit of a scramble, but also a good reason to tighten up that part of the game. I like the sound of that. Kind of. It's basically like a reason to like not send them into crunch, I assume, but definitely to push them beyond like I guess their standard working pace. It's like we got to just button this up, finish the models, finish stuff. That means there's definitely stuff like because I want to see a lot of the enemies that we saw in that original footage showcase quite finished.
It was just the animations that were a bit jank. That was really it.
Yeah, but like
they clipped through the floor a little bit.
I definitely want to see sort of more enemies. Definitely some of the new weapons. I imagine that in the footage that they recorded for the trailer, they were probably using they probably tried to make sure they were using exclusively new weapons, probably, or mostly.
Or some redesigned of the new stuff, because I'm pretty sure they're doing that, right? Like
anything that is like the most
really
redesigned.
weird.
Well, some of them will probably not change like really that much at all. But I can imagine a lot of the Gen 1 weapons looking different, noticeably different, perhaps.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I don't want, not that I don't want to see it, I'd rather it be shown in such a particular way. I don't know if I want to see. I don't know if I can hold on this long, but I don't know if I want to see bosses until playing it almost, if you know what I mean. But I would love to see bosses like what's like the bigger stuff, like definitely teased. Eyes in the dark.
Doubt they have more than like one boss done.
That's like probably true. Luckily, we know they are. Like, I mean, we know specifically. If anyone's worried, they are specifically working on a number of new bosses right out the gate. But you're probably right.
It's very normal for roguelikes to have bosses at the end of each floor. That is just a quote, right?
Yeah.
Like there isn't a roguelike I can think of that doesn't do that. Other than, I guess, technically, like, it's not at the end of everything of RoboQuest. It's like every other has a boss.
Well,
but then that's the only time that things really change.
That's right. Because I thought for a moment you were talking about when sometimes it's like a gang of elite enemies. But that's from the optional ones. No, you're right. When you're just going through the game, it is actually every other.
Is when the main boss is. But
I like the
Enter the Gungeon boss.
Yeah.
Binding of Isaac boss. Fucking. Just everything. It is just what they are, what they do.
I really like the Gang of Elites though. I would love to see a version of that. I don't know what that looks like. I guess the default version of that though would just be like if you dilute the twins even further, where it's like there's actually 6 of them. It's just like
even Balatro.
I don't like Balatro. You know what? I downloaded Balatro because it was on Game Pass. I played it for like maybe 20 minutes and I was like, I don't feel anything from this. And given that people say it's like really addictive,
is exactly the same.
It's just like I literally don't want to get hooked on something that I find this uninteresting. I don't.
I played enough of it. Like I've probably done like maybe 10 runs. I have beaten the game and then a little bit of some. I haven't gone like silly, like tens of billions or whatever, like as some people can get to. But I think I've got it. Right, like I had a build that worked so well it beat the game with ease, and it's less engaging than if it was actually fun.
It just doesn't feel like a game to me, and I know that's kind of the point. Where it's like I know there is a joke of like, oh, it's literally just you just make the number go up, and it's like, yay! It's like, and I get that, and that's fine. I think some games are abstract like that. I mean, I'm making a text-based game for a university project, and I barely consider those like games when you compare them to the majority of beloved games, but I just found it so disinteresting. And I'm not going to fill my life with roguelites that I don't find interesting. You know, at this point, I'm going to do the exact opposite
Hades,
of that.
right?
Hades and RoboQuest.
Oh, and RoboQuest, actually, yeah.
I mean, I've probably played more RoboQuest at this point than Hades. Not that I haven't played shit tons of Hades. Not.
Actually, Dead Cells is not possible.
Actually, that's one thing that I would love, but I doubt is being thought of. Any kind of Dante's Inferno inspiration. Descending through the layers of hell would be incredible, but I'm not holding my breath for that.
It's almost overdone, but it's only overdone because of how fucking meta it is and how like everyone appreciates it.
It's literally the coolest fucking thing ever. It's literally cool.
Yeah.
I guess it depends. I like the idea of you unlock one of the later runs, and for some reason it just says maybe you do see the number of stages in a run before you start it. It's just like 9 stages, like 9. Why then 9? Why not 5 or 10? Why did 9? And then you start, and it's like,
oh, that'd be long. Well, I think everything implied that there's like varying lengths, right?
I don't. Yeah, I'm actually not sure about varying lengths, to be honest. I think this is stuff that will not be there's definitely a chance to see in the trailer. I think the trailer will not. I don't think it will be purely gameplay. I think there needs to be a little bit of menu stuff, like showing you looking at upgrades and things like that, and then looking at like the map, for example, and choosing a run. It needs to be at least a quick like glance at that, you know, because you would put that in a Deep Rock trailer, certainly for a season where it's like, oh, look at the map, like selecting like the new mission, or like looking at the fact there's like an infection on the map. Just like a quick glance at what selecting the runs looks like. And we can dissect the fuck out of that. We can dissect the fuck, you know.
Because another roguelike, Darkest Dungeon, it has like you're making expeditions, and the expeditions, you know, they vary in length, right? Like that is normal. Like you would go in, it's like you pick them, you know how long it's going to be when you go into them, and you prepare beforehand. But like that kind of thing, like, you know, there'll be like a short mining rig reclamation, or a like long I don't know, home reclamation, like, or like a base reclamation, like stuff like that, and they would entail different things, and obviously be setting different biomes, just generally like randomly though.
I mean, my sort of generalized idea of like the end, like sort of end game run, I guess, is like a 10 stage thing, and it's like what you're reclaiming is like literally the like the mining like setup, literally a thing. You're reclaiming a giant like machine that is mining like the core itself or something. That's my generalized idea, and then you sort of start it back up, and then say you then entails the final, like, you know, boss fight or something. So my rough idea of like the longest run would be something like that. Because I mean, if there are varying run lengths, I think it's a natural assumption that the longest one is the deepest one. Forgive the wording.
The thing is I'm actually, this is the first time I've been thinking about it this way, but if you basically carry over the gameplay of Deep Rock, in that you do have just a variety of missions, and the missions ultimately don't matter, they're just what you do, right? Like, I feel like they're probably carrying that over, and the runs are going to be different because they're just different missions, whether you beat them or not. Like maybe you can redo the same missions, and that ultimately they don't change every 30 minutes. They're there for like, they're always there until you beat one, and then like a new one appears. So like you pick between them, and eventually you'll beat some of them, and maybe. But there will be like a large range of like things to reclaim, and like you kind of just, yeah, it's a lot more similar to Deep Rock than I think I would have thought originally. Maybe
It
is how I'm thinking
might
of it
be. I
now.
mean, it's we do know that objectives, like mission objectives, are a carried over thing. I don't think they would be the same as both in terms of implementation in like the gameplay structure and also literally. I think we are getting like literally. I don't think they're going to carry over any actual objectives and tasks.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go completely clean slate. Um, and that's something that Mike was talking about, where he's like he's really impressed at all of like the stuff that is being like come up with in terms of like equipment and like assets used in those objectives, and just how good everything looks. Um, which tells me that they are definitely putting effort into it. And I just have to wonder like how different, how far can they go? The varieties, like, are these just stand-ins for Deep Rock's ones, or have they actually somehow managed to drum up like genuinely surprisingly unique activities?
Yeah, because it could be like like you go in and it's a mining mission and you're mining Morkite and that's what you're there to do. But like it could be the activity you need to do to reclaim a thing depends on what type of base it was. So
Yeah.
you don't just get to the end, right? It's not maybe the elevator going down doesn't open up until you do what you need to do there.
Oh yeah,
But
like
like if it is,
we
say,
know.
a simple mining operation, you need to mine, I don't know, core stone, for example, right? That could be
Mhm.
the thing you need to mine there. Or core stone is some sort of infection, right? And that could be an alternate kind of thing where you need to break them so you can move down and actually reclaim, and that's just a constant threat.
It
But
can
I'm
literally
not
be
sure.
like literally like a plugging. Your task is like to just plug like rifts somehow. You set up some kind of machine
Yeah.
that goes around just sealing up these rifts. I mean,
Or
we
maybe escort a machine.
well, okay. If I'll say this: the only reason there'll be an escort mission in Road Core is if they've completely reworked the concept of it from escort duty.
There's no way there's going to be a escort mode, but I do think that you could get
Oh, there'll be like an
maybe
escort like a
events
event.
or
Yes,
like
for sure.
just like a short like bring this thing from A to B for like a minute,
Well, okay, no,
right?
no. What I'm
Like
saying
or
is
two.
that version, where it's like more like an optional event. That's how you can sort of carry over it a bit more, and where having it be a like payload that can be destroyed is actually fine because it's an optional event, and actually that tension works in that scenario when it's not when the stakes aren't so high. But an actual potential escort objective, it would be more like you have this big like mining robot that you might even be able to use in some way, and it's not going to get destroyed either. If they did do
Mountable
it,
turrets, so on and so forth.
it would be much more fun oriented than tension oriented if they did another escort
Yeah.
objective. But I think something that you touched on, I wanted to touch on, and I don't want to touch on you, but I want to touch on what you said.
Ooh.
And it's
Ooh.
something that the trailer needs to give the sense of is I guess what the different runs look like in terms of what we'll be doing outside of combat. It's like, do the mining facilities look pretty different, and can the trailer give a sense of how involved the game is outside of just shooting stuff? And it definitely should be able to, because what I like about Roquel that we know already is that yeah, you can't leave the stage until you've done the objective, because this is not like us reclaiming these mining operations, these mining sites, isn't a conceptual thing where it just happens because you beat the stage, right? It happens because you literally
Yeah.
restarted the equipment and recovered like the mining site through objectives. It's not going to be like, oh, you killed everything, well done, everything's back to normal. No, we're actually going to be doing shit that kind of literally leads
Which is a
to
bit odd
the restarting of operations.
because
Um,
you're going to be like restarting, reconfiguring, revitalizing these rigs, these systems, but they're still going to be inside the orb that you need a giant mech to get into. Like, so it feels like they're not exactly just going to be like, all right, cool, back to work. So it's kind of like, is you reclaiming them really like doing anything?
yeah, I don't know. I
I
wonder
think.
if there'll be something that's like part of the objective. It's always to like place like a beacon down that they can then, like, once you're gone, they send like a bunch of new
They can actually
like
put like
security stuff down to like new turrets and stuff down to like this beacon that you play. Maybe something like that would like kind of explain that, I guess. Like it's the Omen Mark II. Wait, no, please, no.
yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see more Omens though. Like, I would love to see, because obviously I mean, it depends though, doesn't it, on whether or not Deep Rock tried again to implement an automated security system. Because every time they've tried before, it just goes completely tits up. It's like
Yeah,
the Betsy's got infected immediately by parasites, and then the Omens just fucking kill everything that is organic, so they didn't work at all. So they didn't work.
Yeah,
so you can't have an Omen on the mining site. You can't have an Omen.
And you gotta think of it as every event. Rock Galactic, the company, still hires the same shitty fucking delivery company. So I think
they
just
actually
generally
do. It's crazy.
I think they got like the
gag,
level of corporate stupidity where they will do the same thing over and over again, expecting it to randomly change because they have money, not brains.
Yeah.
So they just kind of
that long mid freighter thing though. That's like a gag, but it's almost real at the same time. You know, it's like
yeah,
like a real gag.
It is canon, but it is a gag. But it's a canon gag or a gag canon.
A gag canon. Again. I'd love a gag canon.
Yeah. So yeah, that could be funny and cool if they did set up like automated turrets that have fucked up royally, and that could be in its own type of reclamation, right?
Oh yeah, I mean no. So, hold on, so I don't mean to.
And it's been corrupted.
A defense base, yeah. Or even like a really simple version that actually explains like how this works without us having to introduce like new equipment is the fact that the reason why things went so badly at this site is just because the security malfunctioned. So if you can get it back up and running, maybe you bring like a new you bring like a new like data chip or something that you have to insert into everything to make the security behave properly, and that means that it's safe. That means that site can be operational again because the security is actually working now.
It would be so fucking cool if like there is no one reason why things fall. Right?
I would like
that. Like when the dome took over, like 20 random fucked up things occurred in like all the different places. Like some of them, the technology just turned on the dwarves. Other places, like wildlife took over and like it got overgrown like instantly overnight. Like other places, just the course board fucked them up. Who cares? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like obviously the core, the key event, you know, is just that fucking sphere appearing, which I still think is such like a cool idea. That is like that's the key of like the core going rogue. Suddenly there's just this big fucking like ball appears. It's like, huh? What's that doing there?
Yeah, just everything just
but like
radio
obviously that's that's the start of it, but I hope that doesn't mean inherently that everything goes to shit for the same reason. It goes to shit for the same reason because the orb appears, like, but that just means there's no communication or way in. And that's why things go to shit, because there's no communication or like there's no line of communication or way to send support.
Sometimes it's like blackouts and, you know, like the defenses go down and it's just stuff like that.
Yeah,
or they turn on them.
It could be any reason, really. Things go
and then
to
that's
shit.
what, depending on, you know, maybe it's not even tied to what type of base it is. Maybe the type of base is really just another like biome format, if you know what I mean. So like you're in the sandblasted and you're in a mining facility, so there'll be like mining based machines. But that still doesn't affect what took over and what you need to deal with in reclaiming it. So there could be like a wide variety even within that.
I want to find pyramids.
Like the wide variety between like a sandblasted mining operation that was taken over by Corespawn versus like, I don't know, a fucking magma core fortress taken over by corrupted AI. That kind of thing. Like, and you can like mix and swap and change and all that, and you get even more. Like,
so you're almost
encounters.
hinting at like, or suggesting there is a distinct difference between the way the the DLG sort of structures look between biomes. So it's like in
I
Sandblasted, it could be a lot more sort of casual. Maybe they even use fucking tents, like straight up. And then in Magma
well,
Core, it's like it literally in Magma Core, it literally has to be a fortress.
I wasn't even saying that. I was just more that the biomes. You know how the biomes normally affect the way things run, like the way that a mission feels. Like biomes do that, and then what type of facility it was does that on top of that. And it's not inherently tied to the like you could have any type of structure in the magma core like biome, but they're all different depending on it. So like if it is a mining facility, then there's more mining rigs and bridges and mine carts and stuff like that, and it will feel a lot more like corridory because that's mostly all they need.
I am still really intrigued at how that's going to feel, like procedurally generated structures. Like it's still such a cool idea. I should take back what I said. That is my favorite thing about Road Core that we know about is literally procedurally generated.
I would say
bases.
that's my biggest concern.
It's definitely a concern in terms of complexity and how it's going to feel, and like how
I feel like that
will become samey very quickly. It could.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it might not be possible to make it that complex, and it's going to really narrow the amount of cave shapes and recognizable things in caves. So I hope it's not always like machine rooms, right? That would probably help, right? Like sometimes there's just bits where you're getting to and fro an actual occupied segment, so that you can let in a bit of natural cave generation.
We know there's like that. We know that. This is why I don't think there's going to be any actually new starting biomes, like straight up. I'm actually pretty confident about this because the other side to the difference in look of the caves is proximity to the core. That's almost like the opposite of DLG structures. It's like core, like biome taking over, sorry, not taking over, but obviously it just becomes more like that the closer you get. It's like the other side of that. It's like this is another sort of set of procedurally generated sort of like formations, but they are just completely batshit compared to the deep rock stuff. Because this is like the core biome and where it bleeds into the others. So it's like that's also going to have like a really cool effect. I do wonder if the DLG stuff is less present further down. It probably is. And it just becomes more like just a core biome of like I don't know. I want to see more of that because they definitely do need to show off different environments because and I do think the only time it will look 100% the same as Deep Rock is in the first stage. I think as soon as you pass by the wall, there will immediately become differences. But as in what I'm saying is also before the wall, I think they will look exactly the same. And that's the thing that from the short snippet from the III teaser, it's them sort of setting up that machine that takes down the wall. But apart from that, it does just look like Deep Rock. So the trailer needs to make that clear, doesn't it? That's a very important thing. Make the differences very obvious.
Because it's something that they clearly care a lot about. Like, ultimately, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they just made it look like Deep Rock. Like, it still looked like the game, but they clearly wanted it to look different, so they have to make sure it delivers on that, right? Because it can't be a middle ground. A middle ground is not going to be great. Where it's like, okay, most of this looks brand new, like there are reclaimer weapons, hands, and like buildings, but then like everything else is basically just Deep Rock assets. Like that would be really like kind of Uncanny Valley. Like, is this just a mod kind of thing where like the mod didn't really care about the original art style and it looks different kind of thing. Hopefully,
I mean, I still want some things
new.
to be refined as well. Like even in the parts of like the biomes that are technically carried over like 100%, I still would prefer that they redid some stuff like so that like the vines hanging from the ceiling in like the fungus bogs aren't just PNGs, you know. I wouldn't mind.
They're different ones,
or they look less like PNGs, I should say. Yeah, stuff like that. Anyway, I think we should just briefly sort of veer towards wrapping this up. Although something I want to bring up after we've done this little bit, which talk a little bit about what some people want to see. What I asked you all is what you want to see from the trailer. So we've got a couple write-ins. No surprise, Mr. Cheese. Coming in clutch as actually a legend. I'd like to see the dwarves kill things. Perhaps even use their special abilities. It'd also be cool to see what you're actually trying to do in a round and how you move on to the next one. Yeah, that is the exact that is the correct expectation and desire. See like action, but also the other side, like pin down the sort of the difference between the work that the reclaimers do compared to the mining dwarfs. For sure. Yeah. That's like an obvious thing that first of all, glad to know we're not the only ones.
Yeah, like displaying the differences between the games is probably the most important part. Like even more than inherently showing what is there, it's just what is different. Like I don't know, the gameplay loop essentially, because it should be different.
And also from Mini Prince 1233, I want to see the roguelike aspect of the game and how it'll be different from DRG apart from different enemies and environments. So that is very much so what goes on kind of behind closed
Just
doors
upgrade,
almost, but
right?
in those menus, what the formation of your build and how different that is, and how similar it is, because there are still aspects
And
obviously
how stuff carries over between runs as well, that kind of part.
Carry over, although that is the kind of thing that that's the kind of thing that is hard to get in depth on, because you don't need to go. I don't want to go in depth on like enemy mechanics, for example. I kind of just need to see the enemies and like the combat scenarios to get excited about them. But when it comes to upgrades and stuff, I definitely want to be like, I want to like, I only really get really excited about upgrades and stuff when I have like them not necessarily available to me, but I can like look at them manually and read what everything does like ahead of time. That's what makes me excited, and that's obviously you can't really get that from a trailer. You can't really get that from being in the game. But there will be actually this. I don't think this is part. I'm not sure if this is part of the Triple I thing or not, because the Triple I showcase is 45 minutes long and it's just trailers, which is awesome. But in like their in Ghost Ship stream schedule, they are doing a post like live stream like breakdown thing, or like I think it might be a Q&A, I'm not sure. And the reason why I think that could be a Triple I thing is they might have like a post like broadcast, like another live stream afterwards that is like for the developers who want to take a bit of extra time, but it also might be Ghost Ship's own. I'm not sure. Either way, that's something that I will have to pay attention to as well, that could get some more in-depth stuff on those sort of things that are of just such quick flashes in the trailer. And obviously I'll have the time to piece that stuff together so we can sort of use it in the trailer breakdown, because obviously that video is not going to be happening immediately. Sort of,
no, Harry is fucking off again.
Yeah, it does seem to line up with stuff, doesn't it?
Every single time. It does. It is every single time something is occurring in Deep Rock, you're on holiday.
Just, yeah, obviously,
literally
the last one
crazy
was I actually recorded the season 5 trailer breakdown, but obviously this one's a little bit different. I think I want to do this together because it's going to be like a ridiculous frame by frame like dissection that I think to make it work, hopefully yes, but to make it worth your time, I think it needs to be us going to our typical, perhaps somewhat abandoned, like 2 hour sort of tendency. I can imagine it being quite long. Hopefully, I'm not sure, but the point is, we will be doing a trailer breakdown together as soon as possible when I get back. So that is going to be late, but technically speaking, but the thing I'm fine with is like, I don't mind that. Obviously, we're not going to be like doing live commentary on the thing itself. There could be a lot of cool stuff there, but obviously, technically, it's going to be like a minority of the time. Anyway,
I imagine we'll be in the chat if needs must.
We'll both be in the chat as Rogue as Barrel Vision, sorry, but I just like both talking to each other, maybe.
Yeah. We look like crazy people.
I can't imagine anyone watching that stream will recognize us.
Oh, sure they will. Dude, anyone who gives a shit and knows about this stream and rollcore is probably still watching our channel. They're like those people.
Yeah,
everyone else is not even fucking talking about it.
yeah, and hopefully after this, they will. But yeah, I'm looking forward to actually something that will be coming out while I'm on holiday. I need to make sure I actually get to this and record and then put it together tomorrow. Is the thing that I've been doing, the challenge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, basically, so what happened with that is I decided that I didn't want to put out a like a failure of it, and I like also did not want to. I made a decision pretty early on, like I'm not going to have this carry over after coming back from holiday. I'm getting this done before then, no matter what, because I do not want to come back to doing that and still not beating it. Right? So it's like I'm going to change the challenge a bit. To something I still don't know if I've seen, which is basically it's still the same thing. Hazard 5+8 double warning true solo, but that's it. So I'm free as far as like build goes. I actually have upgrades, because buildless is not very interesting. It's not that interesting when you don't have a build. I'd rather know what's the build that can get you through this difficulty. Like, so that's it, and I've done it. I did it. Unsurprisingly, it was like it was a short egg hunt. It was a short, but I beat it, and I'm gonna record some commentary on that tomorrow and then edit it together, and that should come out on Tuesday, hopefully. But the last thing I want to glance upon, because we have talked a lot about classes, and obviously there is a tier to be shared for the currently backburnered Gorgon, that poor child.
Was, I wouldn't say obvious. It was crazy that they were even going for that, right? Like what they said, they can't even make living Glyphids ragdoll, but they wanted to turn them to stone.
Okay, so hold on. They didn't actually want to turn them to stone, though. It was more like an actual, just like, it was clearly going to be a more tech-based paralysis, like AoE thing. I think the reason they talked about how fucking difficult it was to make it fun was because I think they were probably very often just paralyzing their teammates, and when they weren't, it was also like probably really overpowered. Either way, it's gone back into the workshop, but what that little sort of mention did when I saw that mention on Discord was in the same vein. The dev who talked about it talked about the other sort of fellas in the prototype category. I only technically know the name of one of them, which is the Backtracker, which I'm pretty confident that is currently where time dilation is at. To be honest,
Could be, yeah.
If that's still like in their brains and like sort of on the docket, and he can sort of like rewind himself, maybe rewind enemies, and that sounds cool. But there's one, and I don't think I have the name right. Sorry, I shouldn't actually say Discord. It was actually Mike who talked, which is much higher authority than a random dev on Discord. But I don't think I have the name quite right. But I think it was something like Reanimancer, and you could like create like flesh golems out of like dead enemies with this.
Hell yeah!
You can imagine why it's a prototype, but I'm just saying, the mere indication is riveting, isn't it? It's like the mere suggestion of such things, such fantastical things, even. If you don't mind the term being used, Mickle.
Say that again.
Say that again. Oh, shut up. But all I'm saying there is, I think there's obviously the expectation, the nigh confirmation of more classes being added, and I would love if the Gorgon needs to be reworked. I would love to be reworked into actual petrification, and then you drop. This is a crazy far-flung idea. The Gorgon and the Reanimancer dropping together. It's like a magic themed like update. That's my far-flung idea. Sorry,
I want them to make it 5 as soon as humanly possible. I want them to break I want them to break the 4-player 4-class thing as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well,
like genuinely, first priority once the game works, make it 5. So then, like, you get used to the fact that there are more classes than players in a game.
Yeah, the
Just like
idea
that, you're
of it,
already instantly going without one of them.
it's definitely gonna make things easier and make them more refined. But the idea of launching with 4 is already a bit slippery, like inherently.
Yeah, it is, because people are already going to settle into like one each or that kind of thing. I mean, technically you can pick multiple. It won't be a good idea because you're going to be directly taking upgrades from each other. Like, 2 guardians will have a problem with each other, right? It's just a fact. Like, they're going to be fighting over the health defense related modifications in the general pool. So yeah, you're going to be best off one of everyone, but then you're going to get used to one of everyone, and then it's like the new guy's going to come along, and it's like you're going to be like not having one of them, and it's going to get everyone like, oh, I wish we had this character.
I don't think there's any. I mean, as much depth as there might be in terms of like what the decks can do and how unique they could become, there's no way that there's going to be no desire on both sides for like more. There's no way. What I'm saying is basically, to put this in the most like stark way possible, there's no way the Slicer can become the Gorgon. Is what I'm saying. Like through upgrades.
It's not much like Stark at all.
It's not. Okay. Jarvis, clip that. Anyway, but you see what I'm saying? There's no way you can be like, this class can just as easily do what this class would do anyway. That's clearly the point. Is they have such distinct but singular abilities in their gauntlet that it's like, this is why there's going to be more than 4. This is the whole point. It seems like. So I don't want that to be forgotten because they just find comfort in it. Go ship. I don't want you to be comfortable.
To be on edge, edging at all times.
I mean, something like that. Well, I guess they're kind of already walking a sort of a line. But like, you've clearly got ideas that you want to pursue for other classes, so fulfill those ideas as soon as humanly possible. You know, I will say, more classes will definitely not be the first like early access update though. There's going to be more foundational things, I'm sure, but long before 1.0 though, there needs to be more classes added, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think we'll probably leave our statement on that there. For of course, finally, I feel. I mean, no, I don't think I've said this many times, but obviously, we're finally at a pretty genuine precipice, I think, with getting like the official roll call trailer and entering the quarter where the closed alpha is meant to
We're gonna
be.
know
so I mean,
what roll call
we're getting there. Okay,
looks like.
We're getting there.
Right? They are going to present the trailer in the way that they want roll call to look the first time. They're not going to be compromising on visuals.
Like, that's stuff about them brushing up
or
on like tightening
anything.
up like for the trailer tells you that it's like this needs to look like what roll call will look like. You know?
Yeah,
this
the
is not pre-alpha.
The UI, the assets, the everything is going to. When you get to play the game, even early access or just release, which I mean, release is still early access, but you get the point.
So you mean closed alpha or early access, really? Not necessarily 1.0.
Sure. They both mean the same thing. But yeah, you should be able to point at this trailer and that game and be like, yeah, it's the trailer to the same game. There's no oh, this has been changed. Oh, that was just a representation of this. Like, it should be 1-to-1 for all intents and purposes, which allows us to finally run with what we see and make opinions of it.
The one thing they definitely need to really cramp down on there though as well is like, I think, because from what I've heard about them, especially the fact that the actual like dwarves like themselves were absent from this like class reveal. I don't know what that says about what they're gonna like look like or where they're at on that. I'm not saying they need to have like
I think they're keeping
customization.
that secret.
I know, but I'm not saying they need to have customization fully figured out yet. But they clearly need to at least
Plus,
have.
there were dwarves in that weird analog thing. It looked like it was just the
It was
normal
just
ones,
it was just some DRG guys, but in terms of like brushing up, they need to have at least made like, as in, we're confident that this will at least be what you look like at first. This is not obviously not customized, but this is like the first iteration of the armor. They might even all look the same, or something like that. But definitely don't want to see any armor from Deep Rock. Nothing from Deep Rock where it really doesn't need to be. And the only place that is like literally weapons, and even them should be slightly redesigned, as far as we know. Because as far as we know, there's no end. Actually, I do know that the cave leech is in Rogue Core, which is devious, by the way. That
weren't they on the edge of that?
They weren't sure.
Well, they were unsure if passive enemies were even going to be added, but they managed to wiggle their way into cave leeches.
Yeah.
Bastards. They could be lying though, just to make us check the ceiling for no reason.
Yeah, they might put them on the floor this time.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm like trying to think of how, if they really wanted to change how the Reclaimers look visually, you could go for more of like a Halo customization kind of way where they don't have a face. It's just pure like suit and helmet.
I know that they can't do that because they're not letting go of like that. Just they're dwarves still, and they're not letting go of that. They want beards and stuff. It's not going to go away completely.
Big dwarves and not like be able to see the beards. Plus, you could get a helmet beard. I've done it quite a few times.
Oh yeah, I know. That would be quite a strong direction for customization. Where it's like, yeah, they're still dwarves, but we are hardlining like full body armor and masks. But they're still dwarves. It's like that sounds a little bit difficult. Like pointlessly difficult.
It's not like masks. Like it will be like suits. Like that is their equipment, their mandatory full body protection that like they can't really just get rid of, and then they customize it from there. I don't know. I'm just saying if they want a different direction, because they were a bit mixed or confused, and I don't know. And also, while we're here, there will still be no excuse if there isn't a female dwarf. Just so we're putting it out there, their reasoning for no female dwarfs will not hold if they are not in Rogue Core. So, here on there.
Yeah.
I think it definitely sounds like if you're customizing a dwarf, it is irregardless of your gauntlet, right? Like, your dwarf customization will not be tied to what class they are at, because their class is just a gauntlet.
Potentially,
right? Maybe
we
you'll
don't know that.
I know. I'm willing to bet like a good bit of money on that, because it is just a gauntlet, right? Like it is. You just put the gauntlet on, and the gauntlet could probably change color with your like armor skin, and I bet it would look better or worse. Well, the disproving is that there's even less in Deep Rock, the original game. They don't even have a gauntlet, but I think it would be best if you just have Omni Dwarf cosmetics, which you then just pick your class on, because classes, they're not that important in the rig.
I've got it. I've got the stuff. These are actually the class descriptions that I neglected to really read out. Basically, this is Aaron talking about what Casper, the 3D artist, is basically using as like the foundation for like what the classes look like. And for the Guardian, it's like tanky shield character. Everything about it should be chunky, bulky, and robust. Focus on power over speed. Spotter, techie, nimble, and tactical. Emphasize precision, tech, and stealthiness. Falconeer, I like this. Apparently, Casper looked at real-life clothes of Mongolian eagle hunters and adapted that for sleek, futuristic tech. Now, technically, this is... It is kind of technically talking about the gauntlets, because I kind of see that a little bit in the gauntlet itself, but when they are coming up, when they're coming up with strong visual indicators like this. That makes me more so want those kind of looks in the game.
Oh yeah, it definitely like. My only, I wouldn't even say problem. It's just that I feel like this is going to lead to better, cooler, more stark versions of these characters, like a Guardian that is huge. I feel like I was kind of hoping for, because with Omni customization, they can add a lot more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with these classes, I mean, think about it, right? These already sound. I mean, what's the last one? I'm sure you missed the Slicer.
Well, the Slicer, all it says is his energy sword is just a complete dazzle of busy bullshit. I looked at mech animes for that, and they've got all sorts of tech that makes no sense at all, but looks amazing. Yeah. So he's putting like a fucking Evangelion robot or something.
Yeah, but it also does kind of lean into they might just be referring to the gauntlet because that's all that.
It does lean into that as well.
So, but even then, like, if we say, like, it does still sound like I like the sound of all those things. If you were to bring them towards their general overall look, like, I think, traditional like Hawk Mongolian shit in like a sci-fi techie, that would lead to an absolute phenomenal looking dwarf, right? But it's then
Isn't
like
that, the guy from Apex, like one of the first characters. I can't remember his name.
Bloodhound.
Yes, Bloodhound. I think of that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that they look cool as fuck, and all of their cosmetics do. But it is kind of we were expecting to get quite a few classes, right? And I don't want to be in the position where we have like 8 of them, and they are either we never get more customization or like armor frameworks, because like to add one mark to all of them is a huge task because of how many there are, and so we get no armor, or we get less classes because of how many cosmetics they're going to need to give to that class, if you get what I mean.
I don't. Well, one thing I will say, because I think customization is still not the priority, and it's not going to be the priority for what's shown in the trailer either. If I could put a word of warning out, though, I don't customize as much as I do like customization. It's not something they ever perfected about Deep Rock, which is why I definitely don't want it getting in the way of this side of things for Rogue Core. Not that I don't want it to be better in Rogue Core, relatively speaking. Better doesn't mean more options, but relatively it should be more refined. I definitely think Rogue Core having more classes is a much more important aspect of it. That the last thing I want getting in the way of that is customization.
Yeah, but the way I see it is customization is the third pillar of the game, like the gameplay loop. Like as what I've said, and you do agree, the true progression of Deep Rock is cosmetics. Like it is how good your dwarf looks and how many different dwarf looks you can have. That's the only real thing to work towards at a certain point, right? And
doesn't have to be that
not going to carry over. Yeah, but it probably will be. Like, because once again, what beats out that? Very few progressions, especially in roguelikes. Like, I mean, actually, roguelikes really don't fuck with customization generally. But then again, most roguelikes aren't co-op. Co-op customization becomes quite important because you need to separate yourself from the next guy and style on them. Show that you are iced out and your drip goes harder, as the Utes say.
Yeah, but then if that's the case, the Falconeer is just going to be constantly winning.
Exactly. Or ultimately, do you add all the armors that you think would look good on those characters, but all of them can use them? There is a big, bulky, swaggerlicious looking fucker, but it doesn't matter what class you pick. He's still there. He looks best with the Guardian, but also if you want to be this huge, bulky, but still play style agile spotter, customization. It's what you want. Like I really hope that they kind of don't screw themselves.
It's going to have
they really, because it's the same thing with we have so many limitations and like preventions that hold back customization on Deep Rock, right? The amount of things that like you wish were just the case, like goggles. Like, come the fuck on! How many goggles you could just put on and then put other things on, and just everything, right? How many headgears you could dissect and put everywhere, right? But no. But maybe in roll call, going into it, the fucking they can have that in mind out the gate, that there should be as minimal limitations on customization. The only thing that should stop you from being able to put something on there is a clear physical like limitation that you can't put two helmets over each other, or if you already have something covering your eyes, you can't put something else that covers your eyes and something else, right? Or some weird shit like that. Like, there shouldn't be actual physical clipping. Otherwise, you should be able to do what the fuck you want, cosmetics wise.
I know it's going to complicate things, but what would genuinely make the pseudo Omni, because like you still have like these very clear class armors, but also Omni customization make more sense, would be like body types, like slim, medium, and heavy, and like, and you can that would still be Omni. You can use any of them in any of the classes, but the classes do have a starting body type. So the Guardian,
I'm sure they would, like, whenever they need to make a new mark, they would have to make 3 different types for the body types. But it's like, oh no, 3 versus like what could end up being like 8 to 12 like different marks.
Yeah, and so obviously the Guardian starts at heavy.
Make it 6 because women, big, small, men, small, you know.
Yep, sure.
You know,
but the Guardian starts on the biggest. The Spotter starts smallest. The other 2 start in the middle, but you could still change them all. You know, you could have a. Oh, maybe you don't.
So you could even add slightly more interesting shapes, maybe.
Triangle,
like a top heavy. Yeah, like a top heavy. Top heavy, bottom heavy kind of. I guess it would go top, like, or like both heavy, both not heavy, top heavy, bottom not.
Can I make my guys? Can I make every limb really slim except his right leg? It's like really fat.
No.
Or in the Guardian's case, I'll just have every limb be tiny except his left arm. It's just giant. It's just giant.
Yeah, I think because you could use those 4 as like the prime immediate examples of those 4 body types, right? Like, obviously big, skinny, and then like the tracker would be like, heavier on bottom. I don't know why, just because it ended up being that. And then the melee is the stronger on top, the bulkier kind.
Yeah. I was just looking for Deep Rock trailers because I wanted to confirm something. Just found out that the first Deep Rock trailer came out 7 years ago.
To the day or
not today?
Generally,
just generally. Actually, it's actually difficult to find like the first like Deep Rock trailer in terms of like the 1.0 or something. But either way, I can imagine you can imagine the trailer ending with like a splash screen, like where it turns into a poster basically, or what the poster kind of looks like. Does Roko's poster have 4 dwarves on it who look very different, or 1 fella? And I know it's gonna have 4 because it
definitely has 4.
Yeah,
because they play up a co-op angle hard.
But like, how much does that dictate the nature of their identities? Like, is it gonna be 4 very different looking guys, or is it 4 very similar looking guys, all holding their fists outward? Like, look at our watches. That's it. They all look the same. Like, they're silhouettes, except they have like that. I don't know. And that's gonna be another important thing. That final shot of the trailer or the poster, maybe that comes out at the same time potentially. We'll just have to see. What I do know is my bladder is about to break. No
news, surprise there.
So I think it's about time to wrap this up. I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about when we come back anyway. So until then, this has been the Barrel Vision podcast. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of these. And send off everything to Deep Rock and Roll, and also click the bell. And thank you as always to our member. What's his name, Tyler?
What's for Scoop?
Well done.
Thank you.
And
what if I'd gotten that wrong?
We will shortly leave. I just want to say this is probably the best one we've done in a while. But first of all,
we actually had something to talk about.
What? Anyway, yeah, might have something to do with that.
And more accurately, something I wanted to talk about. To be fucking honest with you.
Yeah, fecal matter. That's what you want to talk about, right?
Yeah, I love shit. Yeah, my mouth.
I'm sorry, I don't stop. I can't end it on that. Okay, I hope everyone has a really nice day. Bye.